You can't do charity without volunteers. You can't move volunteers without transportation. You can't get transportation without the proper paperwork. Right now, this isn't happening because this is slowing life-saving aid down. So we built software to help charities move aid faster and help more people. We're Response, and we're accelerating the delivery of humanitarian aid.
Hi, I'm Kais.
And I'm Kayvon, and we want to tell you a story. Just over a few years ago, a clean water shortage hit the district of Chakwal, Pakistan. And nonprofits had to purchase water filtration systems as soon as possible. But there's no store to purchase thousands of filters. And so how did they actually buy what they needed? Well, they used a process called tendering. And here's how it worked. Nonprofit procurement teams wrote up a request explaining exactly what they needed to buy, and then suppliers of filters submitted bids to win that contract. But it ended up taking over 60 days just to purchase the filters. And meanwhile, a district of 1.5 million people lack clean water. We wanted to figure out why this was happening. So we spoke to over 100 procurement professionals. And what we found is that humanitarian procurement is broken. Right now, there are a few problems. When procurement teams write requests, information and expertise is difficult to find. And that's especially problematic considering that one day they have to be experts in purchasing water purification systems, and the next day they have to be experts in purchasing Humvees. On top of that, collecting and comparing bids is time-consuming. They're spending hundreds of hours on repetitive tasks, and it's all because the system is primarily based on email and paper. And ultimately, that means that aid moves slowly. Unfortunately, this is a set of problems that organizations are struggling with throughout the industry. To address these problems, Response is building a collaborative request writer with digital bid analysis. That means that procurement teams can now quickly reuse information to write contracts and requests. It also means that they can automate bid collection and comparison. So technical and financial evaluation can all happen in the same place. And ultimately, that means that these procurement teams and these nonprofits can save time and money. And after spending the past few months co-creating our product with organizations, we've learned that we can actually cut purchasing time in half. And so that means that with Response, aid moves twice as fast.
But how are we going to get this into the hands of charities? Well, we have two key strategies for market adoption. The first is the Response Innovation Lab, which is a technology adoption pipeline for the charity industry. And the second is procurement associations like the Interagency Procurement Group, which represents a concentrated pool of customers that we can target all at once. We're connected with the leads of both organizations, and through them we have access to 30 of their members. But we figured out pretty early on that once you have one charity using Response, all of their suppliers are forced to bid through the platform. So through the magic of network effects, those 30 charities translate into over 5,000 suppliers bidding on opportunities. We're starting off simple with a $100 monthly subscription fee for those suppliers. That comes out to $1,200 annually. Multiplying that by our 5,000 suppliers, we project an initial annual revenue of $6 million. But the opportunity is much larger than that. Those 5,000 suppliers are ones we already have access through our adoption channels. When we consider our serviceable addressable market, that jumps up to $390 million in revenue. And considering our total addressable market of global suppliers, that number becomes over $1.3 billion. So we're building out two key competitive advantages to protect that revenue and to put us ahead of the competition. The first is our powerful data set. We're building formal procurement's largest structured database of contracts and bids. And the second is our strategic partners. This is one of those industries where a small set of key players hold an inordinate amount of influence. And because we're already working with the World Visions and the Red Crosses of the world, we're not only winning over their business, but also that critical influence. And so far, that strategy is working. Those 115 procurement interviews have translated into 12 co-creators who are working with us at every stage of development to build Response. And we now have global procurement leads coming to us for their e-procurement strategies. We even have the director of one of the largest humanitarian organizations in the world flying down to Cornell to work with us in May. And we're extremely proud to announce that we have 5 field testers who are going to be testing Response out in the field at the end of this month. We've told you where we've been, where are we headed next? Well, we have our product launch scheduled for the end of summer 2019 through our adoption channels, but we don't want to stop there. We know that charities are best at bringing life-saving aid to the people who need it most. But we think it's absolutely ridiculous that paperwork is getting in the way of that process. That's why, ultimately, Response is the digital procurement officer. We want to make competitive bidding as easy as buying off Amazon, and we're doing that through automation and simplification of the process. We want charities to send us their specifications, telling us what they need, and we'll handle all the analysis of bids. All they have to do is sign off. But that's a hard problem to solve. And that's why we've put together a team of Cornell engineers with experience in anything from product development to supply chain. And we're extremely fortunate to have been supported by both the Beck and the Kessler Fellowships. But now we're looking for your help. We're looking for connections and nonprofits with less than $200 million in annual revenue, ideally involved in procurement. Thank you very much for your attention, and feel free to email us with any questions you may have.